Welcome to my channel. Subscribe and enjoy my new stories every day. From the moment Jean walked into my life, with her charming smile and that unsettling hint of mystery in her eyes, I should have known she would be the storm that capsized my world. She often compared me to my father, a man of immense charisma and recklessness, calling me a weaker version of him. I always brushed it off, attributing it to her quirky sense of humor. But today, that comparison would unfold into a reality so bitter, it would shatter the foundation of who I believed I was. The day was ordinary, clouded only by the dull routine of a midweek slump. I decided to come home early, planning to surprise Jean with dinner from her favorite Italian place. The house seemed unusually silent as I parked in the driveway. The kind of silence that is heavy, almost like it's holding its breath. As I approached our bedroom, the muted sounds of laughter trickled out, a sound that froze my steps. It wasn't just any laughter, it was hers, laced with an intimacy that clawed at my chest. I pushed open the door, and the scene before me twisted my stomach into knots. There, in the chaos of tousled sheets, was my father, with Jean. Half naked, lost in actions that betrayed every memory I held dear. My heart sank into an abyss as I stared at the man who raised me, now the architect of my pain. Jean. My voice, a shattered whisper, seemed foreign to my ears. She turned, her eyes wide with a guilt that she quickly masked with a dismissive sneer. "You're just like him, aren't you? Weak." Her words stung, venom wrapped in silk. My father, scrambling for his shirt, offered no apologies, only a cold, awkward chuckle. "Son, this. Don't son me." I cut him off, the room spinning around me. My life, my marriage, everything was a lie. The betrayal was a double-edged sword, not just infidelity but a familial betrayal that cut deeper than any scorned love could. My own father, the man I admired despite his flaws, was now nothing more than a stranger in the mirror's reflection. As the initial shock ebbed away, replaced by a cold, seething anger, a plan began to form. They thought I was weak, but they were wrong. I would not let this deceit go unchallenged. Jean and my father had made a grave error, and retribution would be mine. I left the house, my mind racing with plans to dismantle the life I once shared with Jean. Legal, financial, and social ruin, nothing was off the table. She would come to understand the true weight of my heritage. Not the weakness she derided, but a resilience forged in the fires of betrayal. This was just the beginning. The intrigue of how I would reclaim my life and exact my revenge would unfold, but one thing was certain: Jean would regret the day she underestimated me. As for my father, our paths were irrevocably divided. The man who taught me about life had given me the hardest lesson yet, and it was one I would not forget. The story of betrayal had just begun, and vengeance was the prologue to my new beginning. The evening air is cool as I pace the length of my small, stark apartment, my new refuge from the home tainted with betrayal. My mind races, plotting each move with the precision of a chess master. My phone buzzes relentlessly on the coffee table, messages and calls ignored. Tonight, I am a man on a mission, cold, calculated, detached from the emotional maelstrom that attempts to consume me. I dial a number I know by heart, the phone ringing briefly before a familiar voice answers, thick with confusion. "Hello. Marcy, it's me," I say, my voice steady, betraying none of the turmoil inside. "Hey. I heard about. I mean, Jean told us you two were having issues," she stammers, trying to tread lightly around the elephant in the room. "Marcy, I need your help." "It's important," I interrupt, cutting to the chase. There's a pause, a breath held and then released. "Of course, anything. I need details about the business dealings between Dad and Jean. Anything that doesn't add up, I need to know." My request is met with a momentary silence. "You're not thinking of going after your own father, are you?" Her voice is a mix of disbelief and worry. "He's not the man we thought he was, Marcy. And neither is Jean. I need to expose everything. She sighs, resigned. All right. I'll look through the accounts and call you if I find anything strange. Thank you, I say, a part of me flinching at dragging my sister into this sordid affair. But this is war, and in war, every ally counts. As the night deepens, my next call is to a private investigator. The voice that greets me is all business, a tone that matches the darkness of my intentions. I need comprehensive surveillance on two individuals, my wife and my father. I want to know everything. Where they go, who they meet, what they say. Understood. I'll need some details to start. Names, addresses, usual routines, the investigator replies, the sound of keystrokes punctuating each word. I provide the necessary information, each fact a nail in the coffin of my former life. As I end the call, a plan forms, a net of legal and personal ruin to ensnare Jean and my father. The next morning, with the sun barely casting its first light, I meet with my lawyer. The office is quiet, the stillness a stark contrast to the storm raging in my heart. The lawyer, a man of sharp eyes and even sharper suits, listens intently as I outline the situation. So, you're set on this? It's a heavy path, going after your own family, he says, his voice neutral, professional. They made their choice, and now I'm making mine. I want a divorce, and I want to press charges for any criminal activity you find between them. Embezzlement, fraud, anything. He nods, typing notes into his laptop. I'll start the paperwork. But I advise you to think about this. Revenge can be a double-edged sword. I've thought about nothing else, I respond, my resolve steel. This is about justice now. They need to be held accountable. As I leave the office, the city awakens around me, indifferent to the personal earthquake shifting my reality. I am alone, but for the first time in days, I feel a grim sense of purpose. This is no longer just about a broken heart, it's about righting the deepest wrongs. The game has changed, and I am no longer the man they thought they could easily discard. The intrigue of my vengeance is just unfolding, a narrative written in the shadows of betrayal and the light of retribution. The next steps are clear, and with each move, I reclaim a piece of my shattered self. This chapter of my life is far from over, it's merely the beginning of their end. The early morning sun filters through the blinds of my temporary apartment, casting long shadows across the floor. Today, the stakes are higher, the air charged with the electricity of impending confrontation. I've prepared meticulously, each piece of evidence, each planned encounter, a step closer to my ultimate goal, retribution. I'm interrupted by a buzzing from my phone. It's the private investigator, his voice brimming with urgency. I've got something you need to see. Can you meet now? Where? I respond, grabbing my keys. Park near the Riverside Cafe. I'm in the blue van. You can't miss it. Minutes later, I pull up beside the van. The investigator greets me with a nod and gestures for me to join him inside. The interior is cramped, filled with monitors showing different angles of surveillance footage. Look at this, he says, pausing on a video of Jean and my father entering a luxurious hotel, their body language a little too familiar, a little too close. They've been meeting here regularly. Same day every week. Anger boils inside me, but I push it down. Have you picked up anything on their conversations? He hands me headphones, and I listen intently. Their voices fill the cramped space, discussions of money, veiled references to a business deal I knew nothing about. It's damning, the deceit palpable in their tones. I need copies of everything. And keep following them. There's more to uncover, I say, my voice calm but firm. Leaving the van, my phone rings again. It's Marcy, her tone serious. I dug through the accounts. There's a pattern of transactions that don't add up. Money funneled into a private account from the business. Guess whose name is on it? Let me guess, I say bitterly, Jean's. Yes. And Dad's signatures are all over the transfers. The puzzle pieces fit together, a mosaic of betrayal that spans not just personal boundaries but legal ones as well. Send me everything. I'm meeting with my lawyer today. This ends now, I tell her, my resolve hardening. At the lawyer's office, I lay out the evidence. His eyebrows raise in silent acknowledgement of the gravity of the situation. We have enough to start criminal proceedings. And the divorce. Push it through. I want nothing to do with her, I interrupt, the words tasting like ash in my mouth. I'll prepare the filings. This is going to get messy, he warns, but I'm beyond caring about the fallout. As dusk falls, I find myself outside the home I once shared with Jean. The lights are on, shadows moving against the curtains. I haven't stepped inside since that day, but now I cross the threshold, a man on a mission. Jean is in the kitchen, her back to me. Hearing my footsteps, she turns, surprise etching her features. What are you doing here? Her voice is a mix of confusion and fear. I know about everything, Jean. The money, the lies, the affair. It's over, I declare, the words heavy with both pain and liberation. She pales, her usual composure slipping. We can talk about this. There's nothing left to talk about. You'll hear from my lawyer. Turning my back on her stunned silence, I leave the house for the last time. The night air feels cleaner, the chains of the past beginning to loosen. Driving away, I know the hardest parts are yet to come, the public fallout, the legal battles, the personal reckoning. But tonight, I've taken the first real steps toward freeing myself from the web of deceit spun by the two people I trusted most. The courtroom is silent, a stark contrast to the storm that rages within me as I sit, waiting for the judge to enter. Today marks the culmination of weeks of legal battles, of exposed secrets and shattered illusions. Across the room, Jean sits beside my father, both of them a portrait of strained composure. The air is thick with anticipation and the acrid scent of betrayal. As the judge takes her seat, the final act of this sordid drama begins. My lawyer, a steady presence at my side, gives me a reassuring nod. We're ready, our case airtight with the mountain of evidence collected. Ladies and gentlemen, the judge begins, her voice echoing slightly in the hushed room. We are here to conclude the proceedings regarding the charges of embezzlement and the dissolution of marriage between the parties involved. Jean's lawyer stands, offering a last desperate plea for leniency, citing her previously unblemished record and charitable work. It sounds hollow, even to the untrained ear, after the litany of deceit we've unveiled. Then, it's our turn. My lawyer is succinct, the evidence overwhelming. Bank records, video footage, incriminating messages, it's all laid bare, the web of lies untangled in front of everyone. Jean and my father listen, faces pale, as their world crumbles publicly. When given the chance to speak, Jean looks directly at me, her eyes glistening with unshed tears, or perhaps unspoken anger. Everything I did for us, to better our situation. You never saw that. You only saw betrayal, she says, her voice trembling. You betrayed me with my father. There's no us in that, I reply coldly, my gaze unwavering. The judge finally speaks, her verdict slicing through the last hopes of reconciliation or redemption. Given the evidence presented, I am ruling in favor of the plaintiff. The assets in question will be frozen and seized as part of criminal penalties against Jean and her accomplice. The marriage is hereby dissolved. A murmur ripples through the courtroom as the gavel falls, a sound as final as the closing of a coffin lid. Outside, the sky is overcast, the heavy clouds mirroring the darkness that lingers in my heart. Jean approaches me as I descend the courthouse steps, her expression one of someone who's lost everything. Can we just talk, for a moment, she pleads. There's nothing left to say, I state, but pause, allowing her this one last moment. I loved you, in my way, she whispers, her voice cracking. And I love the person I thought you were, I respond, turning away before I can see the impact of my words. As I walk away, the first drops of rain begin to fall, mingling with the tears neither of us will acknowledge. I don't look back. My path leads forward, away from the ruins of a marriage built on deception. In the following days, news of their arrest and the scandal hits the media. Their faces, once dear and familiar, are splashed across newspapers and television screens, a stark reminder of the depth of their betrayal. My revenge is complete, not just in their legal and social ruin but in the cold, irrevocable severance of any ties that bound us. I rebuild my life, slowly, painstakingly, a process as painful as it is necessary. The final chapter of my old life closes with the harsh lesson that sometimes, the people closest to us are the ones capable of the deepest deceit. As for Jean and my father, they are but distant memories, specters of a past I've learned from but left far behind. The intrigue of my vengeance fulfilled, I face the future with a wary but open heart, the scars of betrayal not healed, but honorably borne.